Hey guys, this is Kevin Potter from Potter USA, and today I'm going to show you how to put a stone on top of your die-struck ring that you've made. So a couple weeks ago I showed you how to take the die-struck stamping and turn it into a ring. I'm going to show you how to put a cab on it, okay? So what I've done, I've just got a piece of onyx here, and we are going to take a piece of, this is 16 gauge silver. I'm not going to use bezel wire because bezel wire is super thin and it just looks kind of cheap. What I'm going to do is measure the height of my stone with my dividers. Just measure the edge. And I'm going to scribe it directly onto my silver here. Now, we could use a shear, but I know most people don't have a shear, so we're going to saw this out. Okay, now we've got our bezel strip. I'm going to anneal this little piece of silver. This is critical. You need to find out exactly how long your stone is. We've got this blue painter's tape. I kind of like this stuff. It doesn't, it's not too sticky. It's good for this. All right, I'm gonna tear off a chunk, make it narrower, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wrap it around the stone. Just like I would a piece of bezel. Now, I know exactly how long of a piece of silver I need. Looks like I'm about 1/4 inch long. I'm going to use a sanding disc real fast. If you guys don't have these things, you should get them. They're just the greatest. I'm using a pair of chain nose pliers. They're round. So you're going to make your bezel, put the seam there. I'm going to hold it in a pair of tweezers. I'm going to use hard solder again. Since I got this little thing here, I'm just going to sandwich it right between it. There we go. All right. So double check everything. Make sure that the solder flowed all the way through the joint, because it's going to be under a little bit of strain. Once you've got your bezel soldered, now you're going to make it fit your stone. The way you do that, at least I do it, is kind of push my stone through my bezel. Now if you've got a really fragile stone, you don't want to do this. So what we've got now is our bezel seated around the stone. It's a nice tight fit, and I'm going to solder the bezel to the top of the ring. Okay, when you set your bezel up there, you're going to want to make sure there's no big gaps and that everything is flush. Try it in a few different positions. Whenever you bend the top, when you bend this ring, your top's going to distort a little bit. So they're really thick, so you've got some room to work. So what you can do is just take a big file, and just level the top of this ring. Once you've flattened the top of your ring and you've flattened your bezel, when you use stiff enough bezel wire like this, it's a lot easier to work with than the super thin fine silver bezel wire. That stuff tends to just bend and mush everywhere and melt when you try to solder it, especially when you're soldering it to a heavier piece. It's kind of difficult. I'm going to put my pallions of solder on the inside. I don't want to flow solder all over the hair and details of the side of the ring. I'm going to literally just dunk the piece in flux. So I'm going to heat from below. and because this big ring is going to suck up all the heat. I'm going to probably hit the top real quick just to get the solder to flow, but most of my heating is going to be done from below. And you want to get a nice seam all the way around your ring. I'm going to take my file. I'm going to use what's called a safety file. The back side of it is smooth. That way, because I don't want to cut into the bottom. I just want to file my bezel and make the edge nice and crisp around where the solder seam is. I'm going to take the top and make sure it's flat. Once you got your ring fished out of the pickle and you've got your stone and your bezel soldered on, you're going to check to see if it fits still. It probably won't. I'm going to actually take and use a barrel burr, and I'm going to trim out this bezel a little bit. What that does is it'll get all the solder bumps out of the bottom, and it's going to let me get my stone in there. So, as many of you guys probably know this lady, Liza Champkin. She's probably one of the top chasers in the world, and she makes some really beautiful tools. What we're going to do, we're going to start hammering. I'm going to use the narrow end of this to start driving this bezel down. You want to get your silver to lay right down on top of the stone. So, now you can see how nice the thicker bezel looks. So you can see that it's pretty smooth. And I'm going to go through there with a little file, and I'm going to file away all of my hammer marks. I'm going to take my rubber wheel, little polishing wheel. I'm going to go around, not up near the bezel at the top of the stone, because this wheel will abrade that stone. I'm going to do the outer edge. All right, there it is. It's all done but the final polish. Thank you for watching, and I will have another video up next week.